Hello, you guys, and welcome back to the Ambitious Podcast. Today, we are talking about something that is by far either, I would say, one of the most common questions that I get, and also is by far one of the most high performing types of content, literally on any platform. Call it email, TikTok, Instagram, does not matter. Today's episode is focused on the thing that seems to be the number one topic that everyone wants to learn about, wants to talk about. So we are using today's episode to really go deep on this topic. I have my phone here in front of me of a list that I sat down and created thinking about today's topic and looking at what were my biggest lessons, what were my biggest things that I really wish someone would have told me in the pursuit, in the pathway to building a seven-figure business. And I think a lot of the time when you're consuming content, seven figures, right, is this really glamorized number, building $1 million business, building a seven-figure business. And a lot of what you'll find is very tactical information of this is what you should do with your services, this is what you should do with your team, with your marketing, with, endless different factors that you can look at. But I actually think some of the most valuable things that we can bring to this conversation are the real and raw of the behind the scenes of true lessons and experiences, really, at the end of the day. I think a lot of my biggest lessons I want to teach people about going to seven figures in their business is much more an aspect of experience rather than it is, stepping back and having this theoretical approach of, oh, it could be this and it could be that. Let's get down to the nitty gritty of what I have actually truly learned. And again, all of this is through experience. I'm going to kind of expand on some different experiences that I want to pass along to you as a lesson and something that you can gain insight from and that you can have as something in your mind as you either are at that goal right now, or if you are on your way to seven figures or multiple seven figures, either or, just to have this top of mind to say, okay, that's something I'm going to think about, plant that seed with you and take that with you and as you go toward this goal. So this is a list of all different areas of business, life, personal, everything. And I really tried to say, okay, what were the biggest takeaways? And it started with a list of, to be honest, 75 things. And I tried to condense it down to the core principles, experiences that I found to be most impactful and that I feel are something that I also see with a lot of clients. I've helped a lot of women to achieve seven figures in their business and multiple seven figures in their business. And this was something that I also have seen as themes with them as well. So this is not just my own journey, but also something I've seen in agencies, done for you service providers, coaches, consultants, you name it, service-based businesses. These are trends that I'm seeing not just for myself, but also with their businesses as they go to seven and multiple seven figures. So let's dive right into it. First things first, we want to dive into is the necessary understanding of the difference between, hitting a revenue goal versus hitting a cash goal. And I think that this is something that not nearly enough people really focus on is like the collecting of cash and the importance of cash in a business of this size. I think a lot of people are very much just looking at that revenue goal of like, I just want to hit this much in revenue. And the thing is, if you're not somebody who really understands the importance of cash, managing cash, where is your cash going, in what percentage, right? That revenue goal very quickly can mean that you can have, technically speaking, a seven-figure business and still have it not extremely profitable. I have seen people who have seven-figure businesses who are barely paying themselves because they have so many expenses that they have created and so many areas where their money is going that they don't really have visibility on. So I see this all the time with scaling businesses. They're so focused on just make more money. And instead, like, I'm asking the question of where is the money going? Like, yes, make more money. There's never anything wrong with making more money. But the question is, if you're making more money, where's your existing money going? Do we actually understand and have sight lines on, where all of the money that you're looking to make is actually being used? And I think, something we talk about a lot with our clients is the understanding of whether you want to be more of a business or a company that you look future scope to be like its own entity. Is it something that you want to sell? Is it something that you want separate from you? Or are you building a lifestyle business? And again, important conversation to have, because how you're going to navigate decisions in your business, how you're going to navigate your cash and the revenue and all of the things that you're looking at in getting to that goal are going to be different decisions. We're going to look at it with a different lens. So just something I want to pass along is that there really is a very big difference in just making seven figures in money and building a company. And building a company to me is getting true understanding of the, yes, revenue that you're making, but where is that going? How is that being used to get you to the next level and the next level? And also rooted in understanding, do I want a lifestyle business, or is this something that I could see myself down the road selling or kind of having as a separate entity to myself? And as I say that, there's nothing wrong with one or the other. They're just different models. And it's something you should understand if you're someone who wants to build a business to multiple 6, 7, or multiple 7 figures. Second, which was a very tough lesson for me to learn, and I feel like you see this everywhere, but I had to expand on it, is that your health is your wealth. And, in some episodes, we're going to really unpack my experience around burnout and how I came out of that. But I have gone through episodes in getting to 7 figures where I was just so hell bent on getting there that I was like, I don't care how I do it. I don't care what it takes. This was just like this goal that I had in my brain that had to happen. And the thing with that is, I think that there's equal parts. When you want to go to 7 figures, if you have that mindset, you have to be so careful, because while you're so driven and you are so ambitious, you have to also look at, am I balanced? Am I working in harmony with the other things that I value? And I will be honest, like, I was eating in pursuit of this goal. I hit 7 figures in the first 18 months of my business. And I often tell my clients, I'm very transparent. I'm like, if I was you, I would not want you to get there the way that I did. Why? Because when I was stressed, I'd have a glass of wine every day after work to kind of decompress. I was eating like crap. I was eating food at lunch that by 3 o'clock, I was like, I'm out. I have no energy. I wasn't working out. My body and my digestion were awful bloating, acne. My body was literally flared up. And this was something, by the way, I'm not saying that this is an indicator. Some people can have great health and still struggle with acne. But the thing that I guess I would want to pass along is, if you're going into this goal and you really want to be able to do it sustainably in a scalable way, you need to tune into your body, and you need to be very conscious that you are the machine. Your energy, your body is the machine that's going to make this 7-figure goal happen. So if you're someone who wants to do that, you need to focus on your health. How are you taking care of your mental health? How are you taking care of your physical health? Are you staying hydrated? What are you eating? How are you resting? How are you training? Are you training your body? Are you, getting your body to heal in an intentional way? I almost literally now think about this like an athlete. Like, you are someone who is trying to, in the pursuit of 7 figures or in multiple 7 figures, you're going for pro athlete status. Well, guess what? You need to train as so. You need to be intentional about your healing. You need to be intentional about your mental health. You need to be intentional about your physical health. And that is the machine that is going to help you to get to that target of 7 or multiple 7 figures. So I can't stress enough. It's my biggest lesson that I want to pass along to absolutely everybody who has this goal. Your health is your wealth. So if you seem to think, oh, once I get to that, I'll focus on my health goal. No, if you focus on your health goal right now, I can tell you from experience, when you focus on taking care of your mental and physical health, you are going to see that goal happen quicker. Why? Because you have the energy tank full to bring that to working on your business. If you're going and attacking this big goal with an empty tank, it's going to be 10 times more difficult than it needs to be. Third, I would say, is emotional decision-making is by far one of the biggest vulnerabilities that I see with CEOs and with leaders. There's so many people who are making decisions from how they feel. And if I know anything in building a business of that size, you need to remove emotion. Now, this is not to say, by the way, that you can't be emotional about things that happen in your business. I'm emotional about things that happen in my business every single freaking day, right? Like, there's things that still rock me. There's still things that upset me. The difference being, this was a huge lesson that I had to learn, was that in your business, you need to understand the difference between an emotional and a rational mind. And they also teach this with, anxiety, panic attacks, many different, mental health struggles that people have, is the difference between an emotional and a rational mind. And essentially what that means is that, have you ever maybe been in a state where you're like super upset about something and you're crying, or you're agitated, you're angry, and you say something, you do something, and then you come down from that and your emotion has settled and you go, shit, I really wish that I hadn't done X. I wish I hadn't said X. I wish I hadn't acted on this thing. And something that's been a huge lesson for me is tuning into myself and knowing, am I doing this from a place of emotion? Am I doing this from a place of, strategy and logic and a calm, rational mind? And this is also the way that I will kind of use this in my business is I ask myself, am I emotionally charged? If I feel any kind of charge, and you'll know this with yourself, if you feel any kind of charge in your body, in your heart, in your mind, when you're going to make a decision on something, like you're still activated by it, you're still a little agitated or a little bit upset about it, don't make a decision on that thing yet. You need to be completely neutral. You need to be somebody who can say, okay, I'm looking at this. A week ago, I was extremely distraught about this, but I've sat with it and here's what I've decided to do, right? You have to be attacking your decision-making from a non-emotional mind, because otherwise what happens is if you are someone who is constantly making decisions from an emotional mind, you're going to see your business be a roller coaster. Why? Because your feelings and your emotions are a roller coaster. So if you feel like my business is up and it's down, that's because your emotions and your feelings are up and they're down. And so if you're making decisions from that place, your business is going to follow the same pattern as your emotions, which means they're all over the place. A really helpful thing that has helped me is kind of the 3N oh my God. 3N. The three N's. My brain is glitching today. 3N's, which are the notice it. So notice how you're feeling. Really tune in and say, okay, like I'm feeling super anxious. I'm feeling XYZ. If it's anger, if it's sadness. Second, give it a name. Name it. I am feeling annoyed. I am feeling angry. I'm feeling anxious. And third, do nothing. Do nothing. These 3N's have completely changed. And also, like, shout out to my therapist because he helped me immensely with this. But I was really finding myself when I was kind of that fight or flight response we have, right? When we're in this place of emotion, we feel like I gotta do something about this. I want to change the way I feel right now. No, you need to notice it. You need to name the emotion and you need to do nothing. So my thing that I want to pass along is that you should not be making business decisions in going to 7 figures or multiple 7 figures from an emotional mind. It should always be from a rational mind. Okay. Also, this was something that was a lesson for sure. There's a lot of people who will do what you do. I hear this all the time, that people will say, well, how can I win if she's winning? How can I be top dog if she's top dog? And how can I be, the top in the industry when she's top in the industry as well? And the thing that I think people lose sight of is that there's never going to be a shortage of people who do what you do. Like you and I both know, I am sitting here as a multiple 7-figure business coach, and I know that there is a business coach around every corner on the internet, right? Like there's so many business coaches. There's so many mindset coaches. There's so many marketing agencies. There's lots of ads agencies. And you're thinking, okay, I do social, I do mindset, I'm an agency, I do done for you services. There's so many people like me. Why would someone hire me? Why? Because you're you. And you do things differently than her. We need to get away from this idea that there's only X amount of people in the market and they either choose person A or B. This is the reason that Coca-Cola and Pepsi both exist today and are very successful companies. They are literally almost, not necessarily identical, but they're almost identical products. They both have very similar structured brands, yet there's always a team Pepsi and there's always a team Coke, right? You can have 2 very similar businesses and there still is going to be a market for one and there's going to be a market for the other. So the thing that I think is important for us to recognize is that there's a lot of people who are going to do what you do, but there's not a lot of people who are going to do it the way that you do it. You are unique. Your lens, your brand, your personality, your values, your principles, your approach, your process is different. I can have a VIP experience, an in-person intensive experience for businesses, and so can the girl next to me. And guess what? The reason they hire her is not going to be the same reason they hire me. And the reason they hire me is not the same reason they hire her. So there's always more than enough business to go around. We have to get out of this mindset of the fact that there is just this limited community who's going to buy anyone's services. It's BS. There's more than enough people to go around to fill all of your businesses, my business, her business, the next person's business. The thing that you need to lean into instead of this idea of, oh, there's only, X amount of people in the space who can succeed. No, You just need to tap into what makes you unique. You need to tap into, why am I different? I had a call actually this week with a business owner who has such different branding than me and very much has like a passive based business. I focus a lot on high ticket. I'm very neutral in luxury. She's very off the cuff and pink. And I remember her saying, will this work? Like, can I get to that next level? And I said, the reason that someone's going to find me and is going to be like, I don't resonate with that at all. And guess what? Where are they going to go? They're going to go to you because you resonate with them. I'm too curated and they want more real and raw, imagery or branding, right? So like, for example, the example I gave her was, there's a Chanel customer and there's a Target customer, there's a Starbucks customer, there's a Dunkin' Donuts customer. All of these are wildly successful businesses. And instead, you are comparing yourself to one company saying, oh, well, they've got the market. The reality is that there's many different sections of the market. The question is, which one do you want to be? And even with Chanel, if you say, I want to be the Chanel, well, guess what? There's Burberry, right? There's Yves Saint Laurent. Like there's many different other luxury brands who are all neck and neck. And they all are still wildly successful. So this idea that you have to be the only one is not true. We see this all the time in all businesses, even outside of the online space or the online social world. And there's proof of this anywhere that you look at it. So my big thing I want to pass along to you is please remember, there's not a shortage of people in the market to say, okay, this has to be with one person over the other. You have something unique, lean into that. Don't try to be like anyone else in the online space or try to be anyone else in business. You just need to lean into who you are and find that unique factor and lean the heck into it. Also, this was a very big awakening for many clients. And this was something that I learned in my own coaching, was that there's so many people who can have a multiple 6, a 7-figure business, a multiple 7-figure business, and still very much be just a very high paid employee. What does this mean? If you are someone who feels that your business is controlling you, you feel like you are it's running the show. It tells you when you have to start work. It tells you when you have to finish work. It tells you, where you're spending your time and how you're going to spend your time. It's constantly pulling you in demand. You're not in control of that business. It's controlling you. Your business, you left a job where you worked for someone else and you have now gone to make a business where you were just a really well-paid employee, essentially. Being a CEO, truly running a 7 or multiple 7-figure business means you're in the driver's seat. It means that you are the one who makes decisions, that you decide how things are going to go, that you have the ability at a moment's notice to just change things if you need to, and you have that control. If you can't do the things you want to do, if you feel that you have built this business, but it's kind of backed you into a corner, well, then guess what? It means you've been operating from a place of being an employee, not a CEO. So the good part is that this can change at any moment. You can decide to approach the business differently. A lot of the time I see this with businesses that I work with, where they will actually make decisions, again, just for this pursuit of the 7-figure or the multiple 7-figure goal, not realizing what it's taking. While you're trying to give yourself that target, it's taking a ton from you. You're not in control. You're not in the driver's seat. It's telling you what to do. It's demanding your attention, your time at all moments. And you feel like you're a victim to your business. It's running the show. So remember, just because you have a 7-figure business does not mean you are a CEO. It can mean you are a very high paid employee. And if this is the case and you feel that this resonates with you, remember that this is really a matter of you getting a different strategy with your business and you being able to step back and say, okay, what about this is not working? Because while it is hitting my targets, while it is making me money, I don't like the way we're doing this. And I will tell you, this is very common. I work with businesses all the time who are multiple 6, 7-figure, multiple 7-figure businesses who come to me and they're like, Kate, I'm going to burn this to the ground. I hate it. I built it because I knew it was working and it was making me sales and the social was working. So I kept leaning into that, but I am miserable. I don't want it like this. I want that target, but I don't want it like this. And that is because they have been stuck in this employee approach with their business and instead really need someone to come in and say, great, how do I actually put myself in the right place so I run this show? Right? So again, you can have a very successful business and still be a very high paid employee. So the question to ask yourself is, do you have control of your business right now or does your business control you? And if you feel like your business controls you, this can change. This doesn't have to stay this way. It can change, but you have to have a different strategy and approach your business from a different lens if you want that to shift. Generating sales is a byproduct. This is the next one. Generating sales is simply a byproduct of the amount of people that know that your offer exists. This might seem like, duh, Kate, but the amount of people that I will look at in a social realm, I'll go through their marketing, I'll go through their website, I'll go through just any of their materials. And I'm like, what do you sell? Like, what is your offer? What is the name of it? What does it do? Like, what is your thing? How do I actually work with you? A lot of people are kind of talking around it. And the thing that I know is that the only way for someone to consciously ask, from discovering you to wanting to buy whatever it is that you're offering, the way to get someone to do that. We have people all the time who will literally come into our world. They will find us on any major social platform. When they find us, they will come in. And some of those people literally in 24 hours have converted into a 60K client. So they come into my, DMs or through email, through applications to say, hey, I want this offer. Now, you might think, okay, well, how does someone come into your world in 24 hours and know that? Because we're very intentional about product awareness. People cannot ask for a product, a program, or a service that they do not know exists. So the question that I have for you is, how many people in your audience right now actually know the name of what it is that they should be asking for? This is why you will literally see people who, Starbucks comes out with like a new seasonal drink every year. And they'll say, oh, I think I want this name. And they found it on a TikTok, or they found it on Instagram, or they found it wherever, right? But they know the name of the drink. They know exactly what they're looking for. They can ask and pull up to that drive-thru and say, I want this beverage, because they know the name of it. And this only comes out once a season. They typically release a new drink every season. So for you, who likely has an offer or a program or product that has lasted more than a season, there's no reason that your audience should not be able to say, hey, here's what I want to buy from you. How do I get this? Can it help me? Right? Like, you need to make sure that your audience in this moment can ask for your offers by name. If you feel like you're having people in your world who are like, so what do you do? So like, how do I work with you? So what do you offer? My audience, anyone who goes through my marketing in any way, really will understand that I have core offers that I have had for a while, and can easily say, hey, tell me more about your mastermind. Hey, tell me more about your private consulting. So people cannot ask for offers they don't know exist. So if you want to make more sales, create more product awareness. Hire fast, fire fast. Do not drag out the decision of hiring or firing. I have had many different hires, and I've had, unfortunately, different fires as well that I have had to do in our business in going to 7 figures. And it's probably, leadership and management and team and all of those are really just like in that realm, are really not something that people talk a lot about. We hear a lot about marketing and sales and offers and all of that, but management and leadership is by far, in my opinion, one of the most important traits that you can develop. Because if you build a 7-figure business or a multiple 7-figure business, at a certain point, it is no longer going to revolve around you, and you're going to need to know how to handle people. And one of the parts of handling people and navigating people is the hiring and the firing process. So I talk to business owners who will have, an operations manager, or they will have another core player on their team. And when I start to unpack and peel back the layers, I start to get this understanding of like, oh yeah, well, like scale of 1 to 10. I mean, she's great, but I'm like, hold it there. She's great, but is she great, or is she great, but she has all of this list of things that you're going to unpack for me, right? And the thing is, I talk to people who know that they should let people go. Like, yeah, I know she's not good for the culture. Yeah, I know she's not pulling her weight. Yeah, I know we've kind of let her slide on the following, or here or her slide on the following. If you know, then do something about it. Because here's the thing, every moment that you're not doing something about that person on your team who is not carrying their weight tells everyone else on the team, from a culture standpoint, oh, our standards are flexible. These are things that we sometimes hold ourselves to, not always. Things can slide, things can slip, right? If you don't think, one of the biggest lessons that I'm a very big fan of Ed Milet and his podcast, And one of the things he often talks about is that a lot of the time in human behavior, there's so many things that are caught, not taught. And he talks a lot about this in regards to parenting and family and, how we're raised and things like that. But for me, I actually really see this applied quite a bit in team culture. What you need to realize that if you have team members and you're doing something that you think is just between you and one team member, or you're seeing something that you're not acknowledging, I can tell you right now, even though you are not intentionally trying to say anything to your team, they are picking up on everything. So there's nothing that you're going to just kind of let slide, even though you know that that person should be let go and that they should be fired. Fire fast. If you know with certainty that this person is really not the player, but you're scared and you're hesitating and you're waiting and you're postponing, do it now. Because every moment that you don't acknowledge that problem in your culture is another moment that you are instilling the value within your team that not hitting of a standard is okay. Now, on the flip side, let's talk hiring, because hiring, I also have a lot of people who will come to me with anxiety around this. Like, oh, like what if this happens? And what if they end up not working out? And what if they end up going and leaving and doing their own thing? And what if, all these scenarios. I'm like, you can only, every single person, you and I both know, every time that you've gone for a job, you've been on your best behavior in that interview. You have always been, you're like, what is the biggest thing you struggle with? You're like, perfectionism. Perfection. I'm so perfect, right? Like you constantly are on your best behavior. So if you don't think that that's the case when you're hiring people, it's the same scenario. They're on their best behavior. You're not going to know until you get them inside. So you can do your best. You can really assess, do they have the qualities? Do they have the skill sets? We still want to assess those things. Are they a good fit for the role? Can they follow instructions? Personality wise, how do we feel about them? But something that I know is that you really aren't going to get the essence of someone until they're in. So I believe in moving quickly. If you feel like, okay, like this person, I have just a feeling about them, let's get them in. And I try to hire quickly that way. And we've hired some people very quickly and have ended up working with us now for years. So the thing that I think is important is to recognize that there's only so much prep you can do on the front end to actually be perfectly knowing that this person is a good fit. And if you feel like someone is not a good fit, then please just make the decision quickly and let them go. Because every time that you kind of hope and pray that things are going to change, you and I both know it's not going to change, right? You can try to develop people, but at a certain point, they will show you who they are. And you as a leader and the CEO, while it is extremely difficult, and I struggle to this day with this, you need to make that decision and you need to stop dragging it out, because every time that you do, you are clearly and significantly impacting your culture and your company. A quote that I love that has been huge in my business in going to 7 and multiple 7 figures is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This kind of, further expands on the team side of things, but I talk to business owners all the time who will say, well, like, oh, I don't really see myself necessarily having a team. And I'm like, so you're going to do everything yourself? Like, if you want to go and achieve massive things, you're going to need a support system. You can't do it all on your own. If you want to go to 7 and multiple 7 figures, I got a newsflash for you. Whether you want to have a small or big team, that's up to you. You don't need to have dozens and dozens of people necessarily to build a 7-figure business. But one thing I can tell you is that if you really want to go far, you're not going to do that on your own. You need other people to come in and give you outside advice. You need other people to be in your business to help you with execution. You need other people to be a sounding board with you as you move through this next phase. So I talk to business owners who will say, well, I don't want to have a big team. And that's fine. Again, you don't have to have a lot of team members, but you have to also recognize that you're not going to get there by yourself. There's only so much that you can do as one person. And a lot of the time, I'll be honest, the reason that people say this is because they're not necessarily adverse to having a team. They truly feel no one can do it as good as I can. And to be honest, in some scenarios, you might be right. You might be the person who truly is the best at what you do and end up being the top knower, the top strategist in some area in your business. But here's what I also know. That just simply is an ego thing. I don't want to be the smartest person on my team. I'd rather be the person who's second or third or fourth smartest on my team at a certain point. Why? Because I want to have a rock star team. I want to have a team of people who add value, who challenge me. Because if I have people who are even smarter than me in certain areas on my team, think of how much value that is. One of the lessons my mentor passed along to me is Building an effective team is like building an NBA team. You got to earn your spot. You got to earn your seat on the bench. And I think that exact same thing when I look at teams who are looking to say, well, I'm gonna do it on my own. It's like saying that I'm gonna win, the playoffs, but I don't want to have half the team on the court. It doesn't make any sense. You can't do it on your own. You need to recognize if you want to go far, you need to go together. If you want to really stand the test of time, you need people beside you to do it. If you just want to go fast, just want to make a quick buck, sure, you can make a quick buck on your own. There's lots of ways to make cash on the internet. There's no question about it. But if you want to build something truly, truly legendary, truly impactful, if you really want to do something with massive impact and actually complete a mission and go far, you have to go together. Oh, this one. So I'm like looking at the nuggets and I'm like, ooh, this one. Nobody thinks about contracts until you need a contract, and it ends up being all you can think about. And something, I had a past friend of mine, and we would joke because we would say, contracts don't matter till they matter, was a line that she used to make fun of me for. And I would constantly say this to people, like, contracts don't matter until they matter. Like, you may not care about, oh, I just signed this. I think the amount of business owners that I see who sign things without actually understanding the legal jargon blows my mind. You don't need to be a lawyer. I'm not asking you to go and understand every single thing of legal jargon, but at least get curious. At least go through the document extensively to know what you're signing. On the flip side, make sure that you have things to set up expectations for your own business and your own contracts that protect you. Because here's the thing, if you want to build a 7-figure business, a multiple 7-figure business, the more money you make, the more risk you have. Right? So if you're someone who wants to build a multiple 7-figure business, well, guess what? An ability for someone to come sue your company or take your intellectual property. You may not have cared about that at 6 figures, but I'm going to tell you this, if you're going to 7 or multiple 7-figures, you're going to care. You're going to care if someone says, no, that's my property. You're going to care if someone, has expectations of what the agreement was going to be, or the support or the cancellation of contracts. All of that stuff matters. So while I am not a lawyer, we have a lawyer on retainer for our business that we, have review every contract that we do with outsourcing things, hiring of team members. We really focus on legal, because I know that the more impact you have, the more exposure you have, the more money you make, the more you need to be aware of these things to protect yourself. So remember, more money equals more risk. So I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time that you actually focused on the legal of your business? Have you been like, oh yeah, I really should get those contracts updated? Do it now. Do it now. Initially, when you're building your business, not enough people look at this because we're all just focused on making money, getting some sales, getting this thing to kind of live and sustain on its own, right? But when you get to a certain level, the level of risk that is associated with every move that you make is more. So make sure that you have your contracts. Your contracts are something that sets expectations. When you hire someone into your business, i.e. like you are getting assistance from someone, or when you're even working with clients. Because guess what? Contracts, you're like, oh, okay, yep, just no big deal. But when a conflict happens, and this will happen in your business, when you go to multiple 7 figures, you're going to have more conflicts, bigger business, bigger problems, right? When you have that happen, the number one thing that's going to happen in a conflict, there's going to say, pull up the agreement. Pull up the agreement. What's the agreement say? And if you just willy-nilly signed that, you now have no leg to stand on. The amount of clients that I have seen impacted by bad contracts, either they signed bad contracts or they didn't have contracts that set out fair expectations in a partnership with any type of scenario, client, contractor, whatever it might be. I have got bitten in the ass because of it. It is so impactful on your business. So do yourself a favor, take some intentional time, put aside some resources, some investment to say, I am going to get my business secure, because I want to make sure that I am protecting myself. More money, more problems. So make sure when you make more money, you get more understanding of legal. This one is something you would be shocked probably about, that I want to pass along, because I just can't, I really am beside myself how much I see this. You need to pay yourself first. The amount of people I see who will say, okay, well, I don't really pay myself in the business because it's going to help me to grow it more. Here's my bone to pick with that. If you don't want to take as much money out of the business, then that's your prerogative. Like, even for me, I don't take as much money out of my business as I could. because my business is a growth business. I really want this to be a company that grows and grows and expands and expands. So my business is not a lifestyle business. This is not just about me. It's about the company kind of like being, my company is its own entity. So because of that, I make decisions accordingly. One of the things that I do is I take out enough for me and whatever my lifestyle is to have enough to sustain the lifestyle that I desire. Everything else stays in the company. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to build a business and you really want to stand the test of time, you can't not pay yourself. I've seen people resent their business. They get bitter. They want to throw in the towel, right? Because you're putting in all the reps and you feel like, I'm not getting anything out of this. I'm not seeing anything come from this. You're not paying yourself. So we apply the profit first model in our business, and paying myself is an important thing, because guess what? I am the lifeline, the vision of this business. So not paying myself is such a disservice when I am the heart that's going to help this thing to get to the next level. So if you want to get to 7 figures, here's my rule with clients. If you want to pay yourself less, as I do, from like a ratio of what I could take out, if I want to pay myself less, that's my prerogative. But here's the word that is the most important. It is with intention. I pay myself less with intention. What I mean by that is I'm not paying myself less because the business can't go on. The business can't afford for me to pay myself properly. I'm paying myself less because I decided this is how much I want to live off of, and I don't need anything else than that. I live a very simple life. So because of that, the rest stays in the business. If you are paying yourself less, if every year, every month in your business, because you believe if you do that, that's going to help it be successful, I can tell you right now, your business model is broken. Because you not having enough to pay yourself properly means your business is not actually soundly structured. It means it needs to be reassessed. Now, if you don't pay yourself because you have enough money to live off of and you don't need any more, that's a different story. Because you are taking the intention and saying, I don't want more than I have, I'm good. But if you not paying yourself is necessary to keep the business afloat and to get you to the next level of where you want to go, your business is broken. That is not a sustainable model. You need to pay yourself first. And people will often talk about, oh, my employees come first, all of this comes first. The reality is you come first. You are the CEO, and within reason, right? Like I pay our employees very well. And I pay myself very well, but I'm not someone who ever would say like, oh, I can't pay myself, I have to pay everybody else, right? You need to, and if you guys read Profit First, if you know the model of Profit First, it talks about the common things that are risks for business. And CEOs believe, oh, well, if I just, don't take out what I need this month and I keep it in the business, it will keep us going. The reality is if you're doing that, your business model is already broken. There's something already wrong in the structure of your business as it stands today. So something to note is you have to please pay yourself first. And if you feel like right now you don't have what you need to pay yourself first, then you need to get a strategy. You need to get someone in there to actually get eyes on your business and unpack your numbers and show you why that's happening. It should not be happening. You should be paying yourself ideally in your business from day one. Even if it isn't, again, a exorbitant amount, you still need to be paying yourself. All right, next, you really want to make sure that you are planning for tomorrow and not just for today. The amount of businesses that I talk to who will say, okay, yeah, in the next 6 months, here's what we want to do. And then next month we're doing this. I'm like, great, talk to me about what you're doing the next year, right? So the 1-3-5 rule is what I talk about. What are you doing the next year? What are you doing in the next 3 years? And what are you doing in the next 5 years? Do you have understanding of where you're going? Because here's the thing, if you want to build a multiple 7-figure business and you have no idea where you're going, the analogy that I give to this is like literally getting in the car, hopping on a highway, and you have no destination. Think about how it's going to feel. Right? At first, might be exciting. You're like, okay, yes, we're on the highway, we're doing things, we're moving. But eventually you're like, where the hell are we going? Like, what is happening? I feel no purpose. I feel no excitement. It just is a trip that never ends. And I see this with businesses who want to go to 7 and multi-7, is that they will have no vision of what they're wanting to achieve with their mission, with their offers, with their team, with their marketing. Like you need to have a goalpost that you're working toward, and something that is required of someone going to building a 7 and multiple 7-figure business is you got to have vision. Because guess what? Your vision is something that is going to infiltrate and kind of immerse itself into everything that you do. So this vision will connect with your marketing and sharing of vision like I do on this podcast. Your vision will integrate into how your team sees, hey, where are we going? Like, what are we going to achieve as a unit here? Your vision is something that your clients will buy into, of what you see as to where your market is going, where your section, your audience, your clientele can be served. Like, where is the next goalpost? So many people don't know where they're going in the next, 1, 3, and 5 years. And then they feel this kind of unsettled energy of just not really feeling inspired by their business. Well, of course you're not. You're getting in a car on a highway to nowhere, and the road is just never ending. There is no off ramp. Okay. There is no off ramp. There is no maps. There is no destination. It is just a road that as soon as you feel like, oh, can't see anymore, there you go. More road in front of us, right? Just keeps rolling and rolling. No wonder you're not inspired in your business. No wonder you're not feeling driven. No wonder your team is not activated. You need to have a vision for your business, and it needs to be something that you feel and you feel confident to. So something I want you to sit with is, if you want to go to 7 figures or you want to go to multi-7, what is that vision? Get clarity of that. Step back from your day-to-day of your business. This is also something that causes this to not happen. So many people are so stuck in the day-to-day of their business that they're not actually taking time to say, let's step back and ask ourselves, where are we going? Where are we actually taking this ship? Right? And instead, people are just going and going day by day, which essentially is back to that analogy of you're sitting in the car and you're just rolling and going and going. Next, happy customers are worth 10 times what they initially invest with you. So someone asked me, what's the key to the monthly recurring revenue that you need to get you to that next level of business? And I said, if you really want to know, you need happy clients. I talk to businesses all the time. They've got a revolving door of clients. You've got, people who come in, they buy one thing and they never return. Or you have a high ticket client that you're like, oh yes, I'm so excited. They're paying our highest monthly retainer. Great. And then they never come back. They never renew. They never upsell. They never downsell, right? And you have this revolving door of clients. Well, of course it feels hard. What people don't realize is that if your service is top notch, you're going to have an extremely high renewal rate. Now, this is not necessarily even just for, keep them in your world. Happy clients tell other people how happy they are. The amount of renewals that our business gets, the amount of referrals, my number one concern every single day is how my clients feel about their experience. How can we serve you better? What do you want to learn about? What is a support that you feel you'd love to see? Is there something maybe that you have as an idea of what you'd love in a mentorship program or in a consulting experience that you haven't seen before, right? I'm always listening to what they want. Why? Because if I can serve them at the highest level, it's not only going to help us to serve them longer, but it's also going to make sure that they tell anyone and everybody about it naturally. When you love a product, you're telling your mom and your sister and your friends, being like, oh my God, you should totally try XYZ, right? Because you love it. When you love something and you have emotion behind it, you're going to tell people that you love it. So something to note in your business is to ask, how many people are renewing? How long do clients stay with you? How many people do they refer to you? Right? And are they really, really happy with the experience? Because if they are, I can tell you a really happy client is not just, you're not focused just on the amount that they invest the first time. A happy client will typically 10x that investment for you if they feel that the service is worth it. And so that's something I want to make sure that you're focused on, not just getting the client, but keeping the client and making sure that they're happy. Make sure they're happy. If they love the results, they love the experience, they're going to come back time and time again and send more people your way as well. Your brand also, this was a big one, is your brand is the modern day business card and how people are going to feel when they consume you. A lot of the time, people will say, brand, how important is brand? Well, I will say, in my opinion, building a 7-figure or multiple 7-figure business, brand is by far one of the most important things that you can do today in the modern business world, period. Your brand today is your business card. So if you think, I'm not really super focused on brand because I get a lot of referrals or I get a lot of this or that is the number one thing that I say, listen, brand is going to give you longevity. Brand is the thing that's going to allow you to sustain for years and years and years and years, and it not just be whatever off of whatever is just current today. Your brand is your business card. And if you are not someone who actually understands your brand and your brand values and your brand triggers and your brand archetype, and we're going to have a whole other episode about brand But when it comes to understanding your brand, if you don't have that clarity and you're not focused on building brand right now, what that really tells me is you're not focused on building your business, because everyone today needs to be building a brand. How that brand looks is different person to person, but you need to be focused on building a brand because your brand is your business card. And with that, I this kind of also coincides with the brand discussion. Was a quote that I heard that I felt has really impacted me in going to seven figures, and it says, "You can build another business, you can't build another reputation." And I can't tell you enough how true that is. When you are someone who wants to build something big, the number one thing that you have to protect is your reputation. You need to make sure, this isn't to say that you have to constantly control the narrative, because it's going to be the reality of marketing today and social media is we don't always have control. We can't always control the narrative. But are you focused on the narrative? Are you focused enough on being intentional about what you want that reputation to be? How do you want to be known? How do you want to be perceived? How do you want to be remembered? And I think that there's so many people who are so focused on the finances that they can generate and are not nearly focused enough on how they're generating that. I want to be known, not for how much money I made, not for how much money is in my bank account. I don't want to be known for any of that. I want to be known for how I made people feel. I want to be known for when someone reads my post that they're like ready to get it today. For someone who listens to this podcast to say, okay, this just instantly sparked for me. I'm going to do something about that now. I want you to feel inspired. I want you to feel energized. I want you to feel hungry. I want you to feel motivated. Right? So like you building more businesses, you can build all kinds of businesses. You can make all kinds of money. But the number one thing you got to be careful about is the fact that you cannot change your reputation. So I always tell my clients, be the product. Make sure you're conscious of what you want your reputation to be and embody that every single day. This was also, there's another one here that I had to learn in going to seven figures myself, which was your company will only grow as much as you grow as the entrepreneur. And my mentor passed this along to me, and he said, the lid of a business is the lid of its leadership. And literally you are capping your business. If you are at a certain level in your vision, that is the vision and where it stops with your team. If you're at a certain level in your mindset, that is the mindset level that everything will be capped at. If you are at a certain level in your belief of where the business can go, the business will never surpass that. You are the lid of your business. So if you want to increase to a new level, you as the entrepreneur, as the CEO, as the leader of this business need to get to a new level, which is why I'm constantly looking to up level and up level and up level. Because one of the things that I had to learn, I remember at the time I was a multiple six-figure business. And I remember saying to my coach, I said, yeah, I'm really gunning for seven figures. He's like, respectfully, you don't deserve it. There's no way that your business can get to seven figures because you in your mind are not a seven-figure business owner. Like, you in your mind are not even aligning yourself to achieving that goal. So respectfully, hitting that goal is going to be very difficult if you do not have the ability to hold space for that goal. So the thing that's important to recognize is that you are the lid of your business. So your business will never outgrow the level that you are currently at. So you have to ask yourself, what level are we currently at? What level is our current mindset at? What level is the current vision at? What level do I think this business can get to? Do I have clarity of all those things? What are the skills that I have that I need to get to the next level for if we want to go to the next level? So it's never done. If you want to exponentially grow, you're never done. Because as soon as you stop your development, your business development is going to stop. So you need to make sure that in understanding you're the lid of your business and the lid of the company is the lid of its leadership, how can you keep moving the needle forward? Where are the areas maybe that you haven't been as focused on and you're also seeing that translate into your business? And one of these big things for me in going to seven figures was leadership, understanding how to motivate people, understanding how to manage different personality types, understanding how to translate my vision to other people when it wasn't so emotional for them as it was for me. How do I translate that to make it make sense to them? Understanding how other people are triggered and how they're, activated, and understanding how other people are motivated, right? Like all of this was something I had to learn because I was like, if I don't learn that, I am going to be having this one style of management and it works for person A, but it doesn't work for person B or C or D, right? So the lid of the business is the lid of its leadership. And the balance, I have another one here, which I would say is probably one of the most important. I feel like I'm saying out of everything because I'm like everything here, I'm just like, oh yeah. But this is something that I'm seeing a lot, which is the proactive versus the reactive nature in business. I think as you get bigger, my lesson is that I think as you get bigger, you should be less reactive. Like I think when you're initially in business and you're growing, you're kind of in the day to day and you're in that like hustle mindset, you're in that hustle mode. So because of that, you very much are like having this event and your reaction to it. You're the event and your reaction to it. Why? Because to be honest, at that point in your business, you're so busy and you're so in the weeds of your business that you really can't get sight lines to think proactively. But again, kind of back to our employee versus the CEO, if you are someone who's truly operating your business as a CEO, you shouldn't be in the weeds of it anymore. And you should be looking at the big picture and stepping back of like, okay, like where are our weak spots? Where are our gaps here? Where do we see the market going? And how can we get 2-3 steps ahead of it? Right. So, looking at foresight, having that foresight to say, where are we going and how can we prep for that? And a lot of people are always just, and this is what happened this week. So here's what I'm going to do. This is what happened this month. So here's what I'm going to do. Here's what happened last month. So here's what we're going to do. And instead, I want you to step back and actually get perspective and say, okay, how can we be proactive? We see these trends in the market. We see that this is something that people are moving slowly toward. And the question is how quickly you act on it, right? So for example, TikTok was a prime example of this. There was a phase in TikTok where there were so many people who were like, okay, TikTok's this emerging thing. It was a new platform. And everyone's kind of like, how big is this going to be? How impactful is this going to be for us? And we're watching it. Some people saw that it was getting traction and they leaned the hell in. We've seen clients who during this phase literally went to 400,000 followers on TikTok. And then all those creators started to make content. And then everyone started to latch on. Everyone started to post on TikTok. And it was like everyone and their mom was on TikTok all of a sudden. And then people said, as the reactive nature, oh crap, TikTok's really taking off. I guess I should hop on TikTok. The people who got on it when they saw the opportunity and they saw the wave and they saw the trend and they saw the foresight of what was happening, they leaned in and it's like the early bird gets the worm. It's really the same thing in business. You have to be proactive in the way that you look at things. You can't constantly be in this reactive state of only once this happens, then we'll do something about it. The most successful business owners that I work with who are at 7 and multiple 7 figures are people who are not just thinking about today, but they're thinking about tomorrow and the next day. Again, back to that vision. They're also being proactive and they're not as reactive to things that are happening in the business because they already had a plan for it. They're already on it. So you want less, as you get bigger, you should be having less reactive decision-making. You should be having less reactions because you should already know the steps of what's going to be unfolding. This next line is a slogan in someone's business, but it was something that I resonated with deeply because in going to 7 figures, I kind of always felt, and even multiple 7, I always felt I wasn't done. Like I always had this thing of feeling like I hit a benchmark, I hit a milestone. And when I hit that milestone, that it never felt finished. I always felt that I needed something more. And I remember going to my coach saying, something wrong with me because I feel like I hit a 50K month and then I'm like, okay, what's next? Then I hit a 100K month and then I'm like, what's next? And then, you would constantly go. And I would hit all these months and I would always feel like I was never happy. I was never content. And we had this really great conversation, which was, it's okay to be proud, but still never satisfied. And what I realized was because of the personality type that I am, and because the type of business owner that I am and the high performer that I am, I really just realized that like, it's not that I'm not content. It's not that I'm not happy. I'm extremely happy with my life. Like if I didn't, make any more money than I have today, I would be perfectly content with my life because I'm happy with where I am and I'm happy with the success that we've generated. The thing that I think I constantly feel this need of like more is simply because I'm like so curious as to who I can become. And I'm constantly feeling this need of like, if I've developed this much, like a couple of years ago, I was a server who had no idea what she wanted to do with her life. And now I own and operate a multiple 7-figure business and have impacted hundreds of women. So to me, getting curious about the next phase of my development is probably something that would be really interesting to say, like, what can I do next in health, in relationships? Like, what's the next level? I am just always wanting to develop and tap into new levels of myself and grow. So if you're someone who feels like you're on your way to 7 figures and you're feeling like it's never done, I would recommend really tapping into, are you content but desire to expand to the next level? Or are you feeling that you haven't achieved until you get there? And I think these are really two big distinctions, because to me, I'm always so proud of what I've done, but there's always this little bit of desire to go to that next level. So again, like being proud, but you can still be never satisfied, right? And it's never satisfied with settling with just where we are, but always looking at how you can develop. We're proud of where we are. We're grateful for where we are. We're content. We still have this little bit of dissatisfaction to say, okay, well, but what about the next level? What about the next level of me? What have I not tapped into yet? And to finish us off, you need to know your why. And, this might seem again like a very duh, but the amount of businesses that I think struggle to get to seven figures and multi seven figures is because they don't actually know why they're doing it. Building a seven figure business to me is actually really just a little bit more from a revenue standpoint of a byproduct of the other values that I hold to be true and the other things that I wanted to achieve. So it wasn't simply just about hitting a number, but more a matter of once I have done this mission, once I've impacted these people, well, once I do that, that means we're likely here in revenue. And I think looking at it around your mission, looking at it around your values, and understanding why are we even doing this in the first place? I had a conversation with someone the other day and she said, Kate, I feel like, 100K months is not my goal. I feel like I've been preconditioned to think that this is my target or this is my objective in my business. And I'm like, this is incredible that you're having this realization now, because the reality is if you want to build a big business, you need to be very deeply rooted in your why, because things are going to try to knock you off your journey time and time again. And the thing that I know is that the only thing that's going to sustain you long term is actually tapping into why the heck are you doing this in the first place? Why are you even wanting a seven-figure business? I want you to ask yourself that. Why do I even want a seven-figure business? Why do I want a multiple seven-figure business? What does that look like? Why do I want that? What's that rooted in? Is it rooted in ego? Is it rooted in purpose? Is it rooted in values? Ask yourself the tough questions and be really honest with yourself. Why do you really want a seven-figure business? Is it because you've been told that this is what you want, or is it because you truly see the vision of what that looks like and all the picture of it feels clear? If that picture of seven figures doesn't feel clear to you and you don't have sight line on what that picture will look like, you need to go back to the drawing board. You need to get clarity on that first, because I can tell you the people who don't have vision, the people who don't have a deep-rooted purpose in why they want to build a seven or multiple seven-figure business will instantly be dissatisfied. You're going to hit the target and say this is it, because you are looking at this thing to complete you instead of this being just simply a byproduct of the other mission and values that you hold to be true. So I also will say in that same note that I don't want anyone to feel that hitting seven figures simply means you're happy. You can be very happy and have a six-figure business. You can be very, very happy and have a 300,000, business, right? It literally, making the number should not be the thing that you're connecting to being happy. Because I can tell you, as someone who has hit a lot of the milestones that I wanted to hit, it doesn't change the way you feel. You just have more money in the business. So you need to know why you're doing it. You need to know, where's that actual fulfillment going to come from? And it's not going to come from your finances. It's not. Your fulfillment is not going to come from your finances. So find another why, find another reason, find a mission, find a purpose in what you're doing. And yes, seven figures may be connected to making that mission happen, but again, it's rooted in purpose and mission. So with that being said, I hope today was helpful for you. I hope today started to kind of spark some different things for you to consider, spark some different areas you may want to dive deeper into. And again, this is by far one of the most requested types of content that I get asked about, which is really the journey into seven figures. So definitely feel free to let us know in the comments below, what were some of the things that you felt were the biggest takeaways for you? What are some areas that you're really excited to dive into? And all that to be said, guys, as always, stay ambitious, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.